So the other thing I want to talk about today is this.
Oh,
Funko. The death of Funko on its way out. They lost something like about $30 million US, right? Not New Zealand, because it'll be okay. I think it might be survivable if it was New Zealand, but it wasn't. So with Funko, right? One thing I liked about Funko when it first came out was like specifically it was to just certain things, right? It was to pop culture. It wasn't to like basketball. It wasn't to baseball. It wasn't to football, and it wasn't moving to all the other sides because and it had to do with like games, it had to do with comics, it had to do with movies. That was cool. Then they just started getting into all this other stuff, and I'm looking, going, why is that here? We don't even know. Like, this is New Zealand, right? We don't even know what that person is, or that. It's like they went into every single show, like Seinfeld. I was like,
yeah.
what's, okay, it's a comedy TV show, but it isn't. It's not something that you go, this is the episode this is from specifically when you walked in.
It
It's kind of.
It makes it hard for a person that's a completist. If there was a completist that wants every Funko Pop, he's going to spend a fortune because they just branched off so much.
Yeah.
But even if they did lose 140, 150 million dollars, or even $1 billion this year, doesn't mean it's the death of the toy line.
No,
it just means that it's got a big speed bump, and it's got to do some reorganization to figure out how to become viable. Now, on the good side is, on the collector side of things, if it does mean that it's the end of the toy line, it means that all of our Funko Pops that we have collected over the years.
Yeah.
Well, you guys mostly. I've never collected Funko Pops, but those Funko Pops are going to become more and more valuable as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're talking about like all the like multiples and multiples and multiples, of the characters and being spreading out so far with all the other shows and stuff, right? So what I found really interesting is that I collect, like, I had to like say, okay, that's enough, right? Because it could just keep going. I could have like 10 different friggin' Batmans. I could have, and I don't mind. For Batman, that's me. I love Batman, so I can have anything about it. But then everything else had 10, right? And they had different versions. They had different versions and everything. And I'm like, wait, if I'm gonna have to get 10 different versions of Wolverine, that's not cool. That's like $25 a pop for me.
Yeah.
So if it's 10 of that, that's 1,500 almost, right? Or something like that. And that's a lot of money. And so I remember, like, I think it was the year before last year, or maybe the year before that, 2019. I had put aside the whole X-Men line, right? Like the first, like, character, like the main original characters. And so they're sitting up there. So there's I think it was about 20 of them or something. And I was slowly paying them off. I was able to go, okay, go in there, go, okay. Because at that time I had a good deal with the managers there, and said, hey, look, I want to come in every week and I'm going to put money on it, $50 or whatever I've got in my pocket. And then by the Christmas, I'll have it all paid off. I'll go home with it. So cool. So I got that. And then I was like, you know what? Blade Runner's coming out. So they got the original 4 Blade Runner thing. Cool. I just have that 4. Cool. Because I love Blade Runner. It's my favorite movie of all time. Nothing comes close to it. I think there's only Shorley which comes close to it, but that's not a sci-fi movie. And so I got that. I got Betty. I've got Rachel. I've got Deckard, and Pre up there, right? And so then came out The Boys. I love The Boys comic book. Don't care for, like, I don't want to watch the TV show, and all my friends who've watched it and love it have basically said you gotta, and have read the comic book even, have said you gotta watch this. I'm like, no, there's one Holy Grail, right, adaptation I don't want to ever see, and this is The Boys. And so I went and got the 4 Boys, right, as well, and that was it. And then I got a couple of the Giants because they were on half price, like the big ones, right? So Let me just grab the big one to show you.
Okay.
If I can reach it. It's high. Oh, have to. Oh, you can go live there. So then they went into these big sizes, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, these are like about 900, almost like $100 in New Zealand. They might go up to about 60, 70. At auction, you might pay about 100, 150, depending when it came out. So this came out at the time the Revelations came out, the TV series, and it became a dud show. And so the prices just went to half price. So I was like, you know, $45, yeah, down from $50, 45. That's good price. I'll go with that. And you know, I haven't even opened it. So I'll do a whole bunch of Funko Pops unopened. And then of course there's a zombie one, you know, of Magneto.
Oh, wow.
Same thing, half price. And I was like, yep. And it might have been about 30, $40 for this one. I was like, cool, man, this is what I wanted, you know, I could have one of these. And because I think I might have a smaller version of it. But my favorite out of that, because I'm a Wolverine fan, right, from way back, like 80s back, right? I got a Zombie Wolverine. Whoops. There you go.
Oh, that's nice.
And so, yeah, so it's quite a large one, right? So it's so cool that, you know, and I thought, that's it. And then in the last 7 months, I was like, you know, they don't look like much. They just sit there.
Yeah.
You can't do anything like this to them, right? You can't move them around. You can't pose them. They just sit there in their box, and you might as well just leave them in the box because it's nice and tidy in their box. And
they remind me. They remind me of bobblehead dolls that don't have a bobblehead.
Right. And but some of them do actually have bobbleheads. Like there's a couple I've got up here that's actually bobblehead. She's up here on this one. This is a X21, X23. Sorry. Oh, these little cases that keep flying out. I'm opening on the doors. So this is a bobblehead, right? X21, 23 from Wolverine's daughter from the TV show, but actually from the actual X23. I don't think that was what it was
came out in the miniseries NYX.
That's the one I was looking for. Yeah, yep. I talking about that comic. I was told not to buy it by a comic book dealer, right? I was told not to buy that comic because it was like, what do you want to read about a little girl for, you know? And I'm like, yeah, it's worth a bit now, and I'm glad I bought it, you know. And I made an extra $60 a couple of years back off just the issue 3, which I didn't realize would be popping up to this huge thing now, right? I would have kept it, but I do have the second series as well. But like, so, you know, you got the bobblehead, but I don't like the bobblehead. I really don't, because they don't. The other problem I have with Funko, they don't come with stands. Like a lot of them don't come with stands, and they don't. You know, you can't just put them there and it'll like stay there. If it moves around, it'll fall over, and that's just bad design. Like especially for figure like collectors like myself, right? So the other ones, they're fine. They have bigger feet and they have more structure to them. But I mean, if you're going to do a bobblehead, at least give it a stand. And so this is what got me annoyed about you know, collecting them. So you just leave them in the box, and there's no reason for you to like take them out and instead of just go look at it and go, oh, cool, looks pretty, and not put it back in the box. So I've got something like about, I guess what, 9, 8, 23, 24, 50, about 100, right? Or probably more in the middle ones. Like I've got like a little cool Lino, right? Lino from
Thundercat.
Thundercats. Yeah. So I had to get that. I was like, yeah, it was on its own, and I realized they got brick. Not brick. What is it called? They vaulted. So one of the things that Funko does is they just do a run, and then they go, "We'll never run this again," which for collectors is a good thing, right? But then they'll come up with another version.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, ah, okay. So I thought my one version was gonna like be valuable at some time. So that's yeah. I think this they
Oh,
ditched last year. They ditched $30 million worth of dolls,
oh,
right? In a ditch, like actual, threw it out into the trash, and those boxes of them at the trash,
wow.
at the dump or recycling or whatever. And all I could think about was like, you could have just sent them overseas somewhere to a poor country and give them to the kids as donations. And because like you could, oh, like it's part of whatever, handing out like food or whatever, sometimes just care packs like at Christmas. Here, kids, you know, your parents probably make a couple bucks an hour, but here's a couple bucks with toy for free,
Right.
and but I guess it's the cost of like moving it all, right, and all
Yeah, I
that.
mean, that's the idea of giving it to charity or whatnot. But if you're already struggling,
Yeah,
right, and your only option is to throw them away because nobody wants them, nobody's buying them,
yeah,
um, or you can spend money and send them somewhere, you're gonna throw them
mm,
away. You'd be better off throwing them away. It's cost effectiveness. Uh, you know, and as in all honesty, if you take them to some of these countries where they're starving, they'd
yeah,
probably rather have some food versus a plastic toy. You know,
yeah, yeah. I wasn't thinking more in the sense of starving. I'm just thinking like in the sense like something for Christmas, like bit of cheer and joy at that time,
right?
But yeah, I think yeah, it's just like I just think of myself. If I'm getting a toy for free, I'll be so excited as a kid, and didn't matter like any. It reminds me of Slumdog Millionaire, right? When he
Hmm.
comes out, out of all that struggle and crap to just get a card signed, picture signed with from Amitabh Bachchan. I think it was Amitabh Bachchan who was in there. The biggest name in Bollywood ever in the world, right? Um, he's been in such classics. And like we're talking about Sholay, right? He was in Sholay in 1972 or something in that movie, But I think, yeah, it's kind of sad seeing that, especially as someone who loves toys and and appreciate those characters and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The other thing I thought was weird was that just this week this is when the money problem came out about them, you know. So they were saying they headed to the dump, and then there was 40 million thrown into the bin of Funko Pops, and what was the other one? So there was yeah. So the question here was like, is Funko Pop going out of business? And so what was the other thing? So with this 130 million, like they had a $70 million loss last year, and then there's a $70 million loss this year, and
Oof.
on top of that, their CEO stepped down or has taken a thing of leave, whatever. Uh, and so it's like, was it the
Yeah, the
CEO who
writing's
just
on the
went
wall.
tick? Yeah, did the CEO just basically just tick off on all these craziness, like get everybody you can sign up, like hip hop artists? I was like, why is Biggie Smalls on, on a as a Funko Pop? But you'd only want to do limited runs, so you could go, okay, we're going to do 100,000 of these or 50,000 of these, and these are the numbers, and they
Right.
become limited. But they don't have that limited run, and I think that exclusivity has non-exclusivity, right?
Yeah.
Has basically caused them to um, falter in the
Well,
collection scene.
I I tend to think that a limited run of 50,000 products is not a limited run.
Yeah,
It's a lot. I mean, and I
yeah,
base that off of GI Joe. That's the one thing that I do, and each figure there was probably a run of around 50 to 60,000 of each figure.
Right.
You know, and they're plentiful. They're still very plentiful today.
Yeah.
You know, so when we talk about like, oh yeah, this is a limited run of 50,000, they're just saying it's a limited run. 50,000 is not a small number. You know,
Yeah.
if they said it's a limited run of 1,000, then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's that. We need to jump on that. I have a toy here that's a limited run of 100. I have number 89 of 100.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a real limited run. You know,
Yeah.
a limited run needs to be something that you take it to the average collector and he looks at it. Either he's excited about, oh my goodness, you've got that, or he's confused on what it is. Oh, I've never seen
Right.
it. You know.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like if it's 50,000, I'm thinking like worldwide, right? And that's
Yeah.
like, but if you're doing it like say, who's who's a famous baseball player that's alive right now in America, right? So for that one, I would go 500 max, right? Because
Yeah.
there's at least 500 fans out there who'd love to get their hands on it, and then I'll just do a signature series, right? Out of that 5, I'll do up like 100 signature series, right? And then I'll also do one with like a card in there for another 200. So you kind of have this sort of thing. With these guys, they basically went,
Oh
there's
yeah.
one type, and there's 100,000 or 50,000, 60,000, and it's like that doesn't actually, as a fan of the person, as a fan of the toy, there's no melding. It's just
Right.
like there's nothing special about it. Like you could pick it up for a couple of bucks, like this one, right? And this is weird, right? I'm glad I got this because there was a couple of others I got this. I got Jessica Rabbit as well, $7. This
Oh,
was
yeah.
in 2005 and for $7, And I wish I had more money. I would have just dumped more money down. But I was, I was selling. I was like there as a stall holder, so I couldn't spend too much money there, and I didn't have that much money to spend. But I made sure I got that one and Jessica Rabbit because I love Jessica Rabbit. So cool. I think, and here's the thing with Jessica Rabbit. Her feet are so small, right, that it can't even stand up. So I had to actually put a screw in, like drill a hole underneath, right? So I could actually have her standing on an actual like a stand from some other toy, so I could actually display it because I didn't have the
Right.
box because it was out of box when I got it. Same with the bobblehead, right? It was out of box. So I had to. The only way I could think I could do it was I bought this case last year at the anime festival that I was like co-managing and one of the store holders, and I thought, okay, that's one way of displaying it. It's it's loose, but it's there. It's good enough to be displayed. But
That's how the majority of people with Funko Pops display them. Either they display them in the boxes, or if they get them out, they put them in one of those types of boxes.
Yeah.
And going, you're thinking about it as well. What do you do immediately when you hear a limited run? You don't open it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm not a huge. There were some Funko Pops that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I like the Rick and Morty stuff, but no matter how big of a fan I was of the property that they were doing,
Yeah.
I still couldn't bring myself to buy any of them.
Right. Not as a regular thing, right?
What's that?
Not as a regular, like just keep buying it.
Yeah, not as a regular thing. Maybe when I was working in in an office, that would be when I would buy, would maybe look at buying one, to have it so I can, show off my interests without having to put out my real collection.
That's it. And and I think that's a lot of things, a lot of ways that fans and will do, like out there in the wild, I should say, like in business places do. I'm like, I don't remember, it's just a simple way of doing it, and people don't mind it because it's very it's cute, it's cuddly, it's one where you can just like display it without anybody going, oh, that's a bit disgusting or something, or that's a bit out there. Or I'll go next, and then I'll have I will have Austin go after that. So this is the first time opening of this. This has just been sitting on the top shelf on the. This is a Zombie Wolverine from 696. So Funko, because we're talking about Funko, Jess. I thought I'd open up a Funko. So it's a giant, right? So it comes. It's a bobblehead, which is really cool. I didn't even realize it was a bobblehead, right? So there you go. Look at that. Look at this giant little thing. It's like, it looks just as creepy as a boglin. Let me get this on solo so you can guys see this. In all its glory. Look at that.
Man,
That's pretty cool.
Like his the rib cage.
Yeah, I'm just so glad I got it. Like now that I can, like see the fact it's boggle. It's hollow. It's heavy as like really heavy. It's thick. It's like I think it's about. It's a 5 mil thick plastic. You can see there. It's pretty thick, and some parts are thicker than the others. You got the toy, like the teeth, pointy, monster teeth. And what's that? Sorry,
I say his adamantium skeleton showing through.
Yeah, that's so cool. I was just looking at it before, but like, yeah,
bony arms.
And it stands up, right? So let me just show you there. Hopefully this doesn't do anything, but it stands up. Right?
Here you go.
One that actually stands up. It's weighted really well. So yeah,
nice.
It's so now I'm going to display it without the box. I'm probably going to get rid of the plastic and just have the flat box sitting somewhere. But I think it looks cool out of box as well. For like a lot of Funkos don't, because that looks similar to everything else. The fact that this is a zombie version, it's got the decay and everything, like this. You can put a finger through the ear, right? Earpiece there on the mask. Yeah, the wear and tear. Oh, in the back, the green ooze.
Rotten flesh.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Let's see if I can focus it. So you got this on his
ooze.
rotten flesh coming off his I can see there, his wrist is showing the metal over the bone, right? And I would have loved to have seen a bit of the leg exposed as well, right? The calf,
kneecap,
or the hip, or the back of the hip bone, something like that, or rib. Maybe the skull, right? The skull would have been really cool as well at the back, but you've got some in the front here, which is pretty cool. So that's its pit. But yeah, so this is the blue and the yellow, which is supposed to be the main costume they're going to have in Deadpool 3. So which now is on hiatus because of the strikes.
Yeah, I have to see.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm just glad this stands on its own. It's good to have a figure that stands on its own, and the weight is really good. So let me just put this up here so you get a better view of it standing on its own. Well, maybe a bit higher. Next week, I'm going to talk about board games. So we'll, if you guys have any board games that you want to like, I'm going to be doing a board game opening, which will be this. I haven't opened it yet, but the reason I've been buying board games recently and over the last year or so is because I'm looking at creating a board game crossover with a comic book. And so I've been getting a whole bunch of like secondhand, like clearance item board games. And so I can learn how to, write up the concept of the gameplay and stuff. But this is so cool, right? How you going there, Stu? Big Stu?
I got them together.
All right, let's see yours. I showed you mine.